Hi, this is Carol Ray with Notarita Pro, and we have partnered up with Verify I-9 Remote to present this training teaching you how to complete the I-9 forms. I hope that you enjoy this presentation. For those of you unfamiliar with what the I-9 form is, I want you to know that federal law requires that every employer who recruits, refers for a fee, or hires an individual for employment in the United States must complete a Form I-9 employment eligibility verification. A Form I-9 will help you verify your employee's identity and employment authorization. A Form I-9 is used for verifying the identity and the employment authorization of individuals hired for employment in the U.S. This includes both citizens and non-citizens. Both employees and employers or authorized representatives of the employer must complete this form. The employee must also present his or her employer with acceptable documents evidencing identity and employment authorization. The employer must examine the employment eligibility and identity documents an employee presents to determine whether the documents reasonably appear to be genuine and to relate to the employee and record the document information on the Form I-9. The Form I-9 Employment Eligibility Verification requirements came out of the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, called the IRCA. IRCA prohibits employers from hiring and employing an individual for employment in the U.S. knowing that the individual is not authorized with respect to such employment. Employers also are prohibited from continuing to employ an individual knowing that he or she is unauthorized for employment. This law also prohibits employers from hiring any individual, including a U.S. citizen, for employment in the U.S. without verifying his or her identity and employment authorization on the Form I-9. Most companies who use notaries public to complete the I-9 process do so for the following reasons. First of all, notaries public are accustomed to working directly with strangers in their own environment, such as their homes or offices. Notaries public are practiced in the process of verifying identification and are probably more capable of detecting fraudulent identification than the average person may be. Also, notaries public are used to reading instructions and taking the responsibility to follow through with the instructions provided. Some notaries public are hesitant about being called the authorized representative because they feel that this may misrepresent their role in the I-9 process. However, the truth is that the federal government requires a face-to-face meeting to identify the employee and to complete the paperwork. Employers are not always able to do that with their remote employees, so they engage people to represent their interests in getting this process completed. You are not working in your capacity as a notary public, but as an appointed representative of the hiring employer. The question arises, are notaries public allowed to complete I-9s? In most states, a notary public is allowed to act as an authorized representative when completing the I-9 process. The only state I'm aware of that does not allow this or does put extra restrictions on this is California. California considers the Form I-9 to be an immigration document, not an employment document. Therefore, in California, a notary may complete the Form I-9, but they also must be bonded as an immigration consultant. Just to be clear, there is nothing on the I-9 form which requires notarization, but correct completion of the document is mandatory, and you must follow the instructions and treat the document as if it were something that you were going to be notarizing. Okay, coming next is Section 2, working with Verify I-9 Remote.